Most of the videos we do are, I would say, informative, but this one is going to be special and it's going to be different. It's really going to be inspirational. We're going to meet Andrew. He's now in his early 60s, but lost his eyesight completely at the age of 25, but it didn't stop him. He continued his career, he's in a band, he goes water skiing, but for us, more importantly, he's got his own fabulous car cave, and we're going to have a chat with him today and talk about some of his cars. Hello, Andrew.
Hello, Trevor. Lovely to meet you.
This one's going to be special. Keep watching. Andrew, thank you so much for agreeing to take time out to show us around your car collection. I think it'd be really interesting to people, just to give you a little bit of your background, because I touched on the intro that you went blind at 25, but you've continued your interest in cars and lots of other things. Tell us about it.
Well, when I could see, I was a rally car navigator, and this stemmed from my father being an RAF pilot during the war in the 307 Polish Squadron, hence my surname. Rally cars were the second best thing to flying, because quite often you were in mid-air, and I've just always had a passion for cars. When I was a little boy, I used to line all my dinky cars up on the bath side, and Mum would have to buy them. I'd have to come back as a customer and I'd have to negotiate with them. I lost my eyesight when I was 25, as you've already said, and I thought, well, I'm going to continue. I continued at university. I continued with all my passions. I've been water skiing, horse riding, flying in light aircraft. Taught my wife to fly a light aircraft, because before she took any lessons at all, she didn't even know there was 360 degrees in a circle. So I had to teach her about all the aeronautics and all the how we navigate in mid-air, although I'm not a pilot myself. And it just led on one thing and another, and everything's just got more expensive.
Well, that's what they say. As you get older, you still have your toys; they just get more expensive. But I think a lot of people will be curious about the fact that obviously we've got cars behind us, like the Lotus Europa that we'll talk about in a minute. And that was a car of an era you were able to see. But what do you get from it now with the cars when you've got obviously other sensors, but you can't see them?
Well, the Europa twin cam behind me is especially special to me, because it was my 21st birthday present from mother and father, and I sold it when I was 22 because it was so notoriously unreliable, but bought it back 18 years later because I wanted that very car back, and I've had it now 25 years, and I sit in it and reminisce, think about when I used to drive it and pick the odd young lady up in it. And so yeah, I've got the Robin Hood behind, so we'll be talking about that later. And so I've just got a fascination in cars still, and I like the feel of them. I like to polish them. I do a little bit of mechanicking myself. So yeah, that's about it really.
And you touched on like the water skiing and so on, but after your sight loss, you still went on and qualified as a solicitor?
Well, I first of all, I lost my eyesight due to diabetes when I was 25. I was halfway through a Bachelor of Education honours degree. I can't believe it, because I took 8 months off, learnt a little bit of Braille, learnt to walk with a cane, and learnt to touch type, and went back and got my teaching degree without my eyesight, taught for 2 years. You know what the joke is, a blind teacher can't control his pupils. But I could. But I didn't really enjoy it. It was too hard work. So I thought, well, bugger it, I'll take up the law. And so yeah, now I'm a principal solicitor, and I'm in charge of a criminal and civil litigation team of a very big county council.
And not only on the work side of it, you're in a band as well.
Yeah, we're an amateur band, but we enjoy ourselves. It's a rock band, and you'll see it on my channel, which we'll talk about later. We've just taken on a female member who can play the keyboards. There's 5 of us now. I play the drums, and we play sort of heavy rock music from the 60s and 70s, like Free All Right Now, or Sympathy for the Devil from Rolling Stones, or Yardbirds, You're a Better Man Than I. So we had a gig here because we've got a little stage outside of the music room. So we had 2 weeks ago, we had a party here and had about 100 people here. We had all the classic cars out on the lawn. There was a Aston Martin Vanquish, McLaren, Caterhams. There's loads and loads of classic cars.
Well, Glastonbury started small. You never know. It could, you know, you could, we're not that far down the road from it, so you never know.
No.
Andrew Fest has a bit of a ring to it, maybe.
Lotus Fest.
Lotus Fest, like that.
Yeah, Lotus Fest.
Okay, let's have a look at some of your cars. Well, we've already touched on this car once, and this was your 21st birthday present, and you've brought it back. And people that watch the channel will know that I've got a little bit of habit of doing that kind of thing myself.
Yeah.
But this one's quite special to you, isn't it?
It is. It was my 21st birthday present, as I said, from my mum and dad. And I wasn't spoilt. I just begged and begged and begged and pleaded. And the reason why I wanted a Europa is because when I was about 15, we had some friends who lived down in London. And they came up to Blackburn in Lancashire, where we all lived. And I didn't see the car arriving. They sort of put it behind the house. And when they were leaving, it was all dark. And emerging from behind the house was this JPS black and gold, beautiful Lotus Europa. The guy was very good looking. He was sort of mid 70s kind of star that you would see on the Persuaders looking guy, you know. And his wife was a blonde. She was lovely. So the whole scene when you're 15 of this black and gold Lotus Europa just drawing out, and what is that? And it's imprinted on my brain forever. So I always had to have a Europa. And my friend Keith, who was an electrician, he said, "Hey Andy, there's one in Darwin in the garage. I've been just doing some wiring there. It's for sale." Oh right. So Sunday morning, got in my dad's car, went to see it through the window, you know. Oh, wow, it's black and gold. Oh my God. So persuaded mum and dad. They bought it for me. It was black and gold at the time because, you know, in the 1970s, Trevor, everyone painted their Lotus as black and gold.
It was the JPS Formula One colours of the time, wasn't it?
So, it was. Yeah. So when I had this when I was 21, black and gold. But it was really unreliable. So after a year, I sold it. Back wheel had fallen off 3 times. And another little amusing story. I went to an very old ex-Lotus garage. This beautiful middle-aged lady came out and she goes, "Oh, Lotus Europa. I haven't seen one of those in years." She says, "Has your back wheel fallen off yet?" I went, "Huh? No." She said, "It will." And it did. So there we are. So I sold it. But I've had 150 sports cars in my time. 20 Lotuses, maybe, 13 Ferraris, dozens of Porsches, you name it, TVRs, you name it. And I always missed this little thing, you know. I was 21, I could see, and I drove through I could see through this very windscreen. And that's why I wanted it back, and I traced it through Google and the DVLA website. In those days, Trevor, it wasn't data protected.
So a lot more accessible information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know the thrill of you finding your Kawasaki, finding this was incredible. Wrote him a real letter on paper in those days.
Blimey, I remember those.
Yeah. And he rang me within 2 or 3 days. And he said, "It's Tim, bought you Europa." Oh, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. So I said, "When can I come and see it?" "Yeah, anytime you like, a month or 2. I went, "What about this weekend?" "Oh, okay." So I went to see it, and it was all black and gold still. All the bits my dad and I had done to it, because the car wasn't new when we bought it when I was 21. It was probably 10 years old. And yeah, so I did all the things inside. In this car, all the interior is original. Every last bit is original, nothing's been changed. But the paint has been changed because I had it restored, and the paint guy, my garage in Blackburn, said, "It used to be yellow, Andrew. Do you want to do it yellow or black?" I said, "I want it black." He said, "It won't be any good." He said, "You'll see all the different ripples in the bodywork. Yellow will hide everything." And the thing is, what I didn't know, he did actually have a few cans of yellow paint left over.
Ah!
Not black.
But there's a question in there that a lot of people might ask, is that if you can't see it, why worry about the colour?
Well, I can see it in my mind. You know, if a blind person has seen before, seen colours, then it'll be ingrained. I have dreams, and they're always in colour, always. But the strange dreams, they're not that sort of strange. The strange dreams, because I know I can't see in the dream, and yet I can see everything. Yeah? So I might be walking along the road thinking I can't see, but there's a car going past, and there's a shop there. And so anyway, back to this car.
Yeah.
Back to this car.
But I think, for me, in the yellow, I think it looks really stunning. I think it shows its shape off really well. I know, you know, we all think back to the 70s, us of a certain age, that JPS black and gold was the colours to have. But no, I think this looks really good. So is it out and about on the road at the moment? Or?
Well, it's roadworthy, and it will drive. It'll start quite nicely. But it's always been lots of trouble, usually serious. Not majorly so, apart from the back wheel coming off.
Yeah, that's irritating.
That's irritating, yeah. But for instance, my wife and I, when we were living in Surrey, we drove down to Goodwood in the Europa. We got there, and I thought, wow, it's got there. Nothing's fallen off. Got back in, no reverse gear. Literally, the gear stick, the circlip had broken, and it was inside the transmission tunnel. So every gear change, I had to lift the gear lever out. She could change gear, and then I'd drop it back in the tunnel.
It sounds, I think the phrase today is they all do that, sir, isn't it? Right.
The final straw, Trevor,
go on.
Was I've been to Goodwood again, got home, no smoke, no fire, yeah?
That's a result.
Slammed the car door, yeah. Tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. What was that? The flipping badge had fallen off the back.
Oh no. Well, why don't we go from a real Lotus to what's behind us, which is a car inspired by a Lotus?
Ah, absolutely. Why not?
Andrew, we're in something which to me, people will know is quite familiar, which is a Robin Hood 2B, which is a Lotus 7 inspired car. And this, you know, from some of the other cars we're going to look at, is quite different. Mm-hmm. What made you get this?
I don't know. I have no idea. It just, as a car lover, if you haven't had one, you have to have it. Yeah. Yeah,
you got to tick that box.
Yeah, I did have a Locust 7 many years ago, but it was plywood sides, and you know. Whereas this, I mean, this is incredible. It's all stainless. The protection got massive bars everywhere. It's going to the dash. Obviously, roll hoops. It's got bars even in the boot, and as far as this sort of car can be, it's probably the safest you can get.
I'm sure one question that will come to people's minds is, how do you go about, I was going to say looking for cars, that's probably not the best word for use, but you know what I mean, searching for cars.
Well, when I'm not working, that's all I do, and my computer talks, my phone talks, you know, everything around me is electronic voice. So I can just read the adverts as well as anybody else. The only thing I like about eBay is, and sometimes I don't do this, it says colour blue, colour silver, colour red. If it doesn't say the colour, I have to go, Debbie! What? Oh, not another car? Yeah, you know, what colour is it?
Yeah, and you're just looking. That's always the answer, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, just...
Brilliant.
Can we see it on Sunday?
Right, okay, let's move on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew, we're going to move on to something a little bit more modern. We've had a couple of classics, and the first question that jumps out to me, and maybe to the people at home, is this is a Ferrari 360, has come along after you lost your sight.
Yes.
So how do you appreciate a car like this, with its sort of shape and colour and so on?
Well, I can appreciate the shape from just touching it. I mean, this vent here just gives me the every time, you know. And I polish it, although it's not polished at the moment. It's very dusty in here, but it's a 360. It's what they call a Medina Challenge spec. So it's got all the roll cages, uprated exhaust and ECU and blah blah blah. And the colour, well, I know colours. I've seen colours. I've seen a Ferrari 400i in this Tour de France blue in the past in a magazine, so I know what the colour is. Simple as that.
Okay. And where is this car at the moment? Because I think I've seen in one of your videos, it's you've done a fair bit of work to it.
Yeah. Well, if you look, I mean, you can't see the inside, but it's all carbon fibre now, where it used to be aluminium. We've done all that. We've put the Bluetooth radio in. It's a crazy radio because it's the original Ferrari radio, and it is a AM, FM radio. It has a cassette deck and the CD deck, and now it's got Bluetooth. So it's got everything.
All mod cons.
All mod cons. It's got the roll cage. It's got, like I said, the engine is uprated to 425 bhp, and I absolutely just love it. And
car purchase wise, we haven't touched on it. Have you got anything else that you've got your eye on at the moment?
Ah, Trevor, you must be psychic, mate.
Well, you weren't going to tell me, but I've cornered you now.
Tomorrow, my wife and I are driving over to Wales to buy a Jensen Healey, a 73 Jensen Healey. And what's attracted me to it is I had a Jensen Healey when I was 23, and I could see. I had an orange one. It was carrot coloured, and it was rotten as a carrot. You couldn't tell until the bodywork started falling out from under the paintwork. But I loved it. And the Lotus 2-litre engine. It was always reliable, going over the Pennines to university and back in it. So this is, again, like all my cars, it's a sort of going back in time and memories of when I could see and I could drive. Simple as that.
Brilliant. And they're a nice car. And I noticed there's a bit of a Lotus theme sort of running through your cars there. Is that one of your favourite manufacturers?
It's my favourite because they're generally cheaper than anything else. You know, you can buy an Elise Series 1 for about 14,000. Not that I was looking, of course. Don't tell the wife. And whereas you look at a Ferrari and you're talking 30, 50, 70,000 pounds. Yeah? The other cars, Porsches, again, I mean, you're talking 30s and 40s and 50s for a decent 911. Whereas, you know, like I said, a Lotus you can get for, well, sometimes under 10,000. So
yeah, good point.
They're great cars, they're light, they don't rust, but you need to take a bucket with you to pick up all the pieces on the way home.
But you mentioned light there. We're going to move on and have a look at a car which is anything but also is one thing that might be heading for the racetrack.
It might be.
Let's have a look. So, Andrew, everything else we've seen of yours so far has been pretty much on the road and working. There's a reasonable layer of barn fine dust over this one, so I'm getting the impression this Falcon's a bit more of a project.
What makes you think that, Trevor?
Well, it's the patina, shall we say?
Well, it's not got an engine in, and it's one of these go-karts that you push down the hill.
Oh, what, a Flintstone kind of car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be, hopefully, a historic FIA GT race car to go around Goodwood with. It's actually a solid machine. I mean, the actual metalwork is so thick. It's just very dirty. I mean, I can imagine when it's finished in dark blue with white racing Shelby stripes. It would look absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I've put my eye around it, and it does look remarkably solid. And you know, these as race cars, it just when you see them on track, as we touched on, against things like Lotus Cortinas and Minis, they just seem so out of place. But they've just got that monster engine that drags them down the straight, haven't they?
Well, the engine in this is very similar engine to the GT40, 289 4.7 litre V8, similar to a Mustang engine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but yeah, you're right. You see them in the old black and white race movies, and they thunder down the straight, overtaking everything in sight. But then they go around to a corner, and the Mini Coopers go flying on the inside, don't they?
They do, and you have a look on YouTube for footage. It's absolutely brilliant. Crystal Palace and that back in the day. And talking of YouTube, you do have your own YouTube channel, don't you?
Yes, Blind Guy TV. And especially if you put Blind Guy TV, Europa, or whatever my cars I have, then you'll get straight to it.
And well, this is normally where I say subscribe to Oscar's Garage, but this time I'm not, because what I'm going to ask you to do is we'll put a link somewhere around here somehow, and we'll ask you to hop on to Andrew's channel and give him a subscription. We'd love to get him up to 1,000 subscribers. You're just under 400, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, Matt Armstrong is terrified.
So watch out, Matt Armstrong. Andrew is on his way.
I just realised one thing before we go. The side window openers are very similar to a GT40.
Well, shh, we can't let the cat out of the bag of what's coming up.
No, we can't.
Behind you is the car thing I get, but behind you is a whole different level in it. So let's have a look at that, shall we?
Over there. Yeah. You didn't realise you were the pilot seat.
Yeah, I'll have a go with it. I daren't touch anything in case it like. We can hear vroom, 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 vroom. Now, Andrew, we are in a helicopter. How does this fit with your collection?
Well, as I said before, aviation is often similar to motoring. If you have a fast car, fast plane, lots of buttons, that's what I love. Lots of switches, click, click, click. Don't touch that one, Trevor.
What? No, I was going to.
Oh, too late.
But I've got the vision of this being like a late night purchase on eBay after a few beers.
Yeah, well, not quite. It was actually for sale in a farmer's auction. And it was JCB Digger, Series 3 Land Rover, C3, dumper truck, helicopter. So naturally, no one bought it. So I got in touch with the guy up in Suffolk, went up to see it and bought it. And in 2 years, I've had 10 minutes flight because everything else has gone wrong with it. Alternators, clutch, magnetos, you name it. So I've calculated that 10 minutes flight per hour has cost me £350,000 an hour.
Okay, that's not quite EasyJet sort of ticket prices, is it?
Nobody could buy an EasyJet jet for that money.
Yeah, it's. I've never been in a helicopter, and I'm not particularly keen at taking off. And you've assured me that this won't. But
Not unless I push that.
What? Which one? Oh no, don't. Please. I'm nervous enough as it is. But just why? It's the question that's.
Well, I said before, my dad was an RAF pilot, and I've had aviation in my entire life. You know, I've been born into aviation. I was diabetic from an early age. In fact, when the doctors told my mum that I was diabetic at the age of 10, the first question I said to my mum, does that mean I'll never be able to fly? And she thought, yes, thank God, because her brother was killed in the war, flying a Beaufighter over the North Sea. But we've had fixed-wing aircraft, Cherokees and all sorts. My wife's got a pilot's licence. She hasn't got a helicopter licence. And this is called an Enstrom Turbo Shark. It's turbocharged. It's got a whopping 6-litre engine in it. Can fly at 100 miles an hour, range of about 250 miles. Service ceiling about 12,000 feet. So yeah, it's fantastic. Except it doesn't fly because it keeps going wrong.
It's got a few teething troubles, but yeah, I've got to say I can't believe there's many people with a car cave that's also got a helicopter in it. So I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I think Stevie Wonder probably has.
Brilliant. Well, we're saving the best for last, and I know, Andrew, you want to tease people and get them to guess what this is. We've shown them a little bit already, so hopefully they might have picked up on it. But this is, what would you say in your scale of cars of favourites?
Second favourite to the Lotus Europa.
But still very special.
Oh, very, very special. Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's put them out of the misery.
Okay.
You ready? Give it a bit of a tug.
And your way. Ta-da!
And yes, it's a Ford GT40. But this has got quite a story, hasn't it?
It has. Yeah, it's not a kit car. No, I've had a few kit car GT40s, and they're fabulous. They truly are. But this is, well, practically original. What it is, it's a mongrel. The chassis was an unused chassis, probably from the 1960s. You can tell because of the green zinc chromate primer, which is deadly. That's still on the car. It's an old prototype. Its chassis number is GT170, which doesn't follow in the history books. The original GT40s only made about 135. Some chassis numbers were in the thousands. Some had an M before it. Some had a J before it. Some were GT101 and follow on. Yeah, well, this is GT170, so it's a prototype spare chassis which has been unused. The bodywork is extra special because it was the spare bodywork used in 1965 Le Mans for the Scuderia Filippinetti team. That's Team Filippinetti. Giorgio Filippinetti was a Swiss-Italian who owned a castle in Switzerland and had his own race team. Over the period of the 1960s, he had 4 GT40s, all in this red and white colour scheme. He raced Cobras, Ferraris, you name it, but they're always red and white.
Where are you at now with this car? I can see it's got the engine in, but it does seem to be missing a sort of gearbox item at the back.
Yeah, well, bit of bad news really. I had it at a garage. They made a bit of a duffers of it. It's come back here. We're going to fix it ourselves. We've managed to sort all the problems out. The gearbox is at the front. I mean, these are racing cars, so you can take the bodywork off, you know, in a minute. Right? You can take the front bodywork off. You can take the doors off in 2 minutes just by banging a hinge pin out. The engine, the gearbox will come out. Undo the top cross member, pull it out. You know, all as quickly as possible. So at Le Mans, 24-hour race, they might lose 20 minutes, but it doesn't really matter at 24 hours. Anything can happen.
So you've had a bit of a challenge with this one. Where are you heading next with it?
Well, to be honest, it's nearly complete. We just have to fit the gearbox onto the engine, put it back in. Everything's piped up. Put the firewall in the back. Put the petrol pumps on, which I've already been on. They're original 1960s fuel pumps, Stuart Warner pumps, which are hideously expensive and hideously notoriously bad. The tanks are in the sills. They should be bladder tanks, but we're just using alloy tanks to get the thing moving for now. It will be what we call an FIA spec car, except with the difference of this, it's not all brand new, all of it is old. It's either original, it's new old stock, or it's copy parts. It's got the pedal box, original cast magnesium pedal box, which is adjustable. You can't adjust the seats, you adjust the pedal box.
You bring the pedals to you, not the seat to the pedals, yeah?
Exactly. Interesting, which you can't see at the moment, but it's got an original steering wheel bezel, which are, well, they're made out of unobtainable, you know, unobtainable. Everything on the car, I can't state how the thing is, you know, original, but it's a mongrel of parts. It's not worth multi-millions, but my last car, which I did, it went out to New Zealand in parts, came back 10 years later, old complete car. I sold it after 18 months to buy this place, and it's now for sale in Florida for $1.5 million.
Ouch.
Ouch, yeah, indeed.
Look, well, Andrew, it's been absolutely fantastic. I'm so sort of pleased you allowed us to come round with you and to tell your story as well. And you know, hopefully everyone at home has really been inspired by what you've been able to do and continue to do, particularly with this GT40. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
And usually I'll say click subscribe. Well, not on this occasion. I want you to click subscribe to Andrew's channel, as we've already talked about, Blind Guy TV. So let's try and get him over 1,000 subscribers, because that would be really fantastic.
Oh, I am at the moment. Matt Armstrong is terrified because I've got 381 subscribers.
I've had him on the phone. He's absolutely bricking it.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye bye. Bye bye.